views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
The Truth is Funny with Colette Stefan will have you thinking outside the box and riding the wave of infinite potential. Join Colette on the Higher Self Network as she provides energetic shifts and consistent results in every area of life, inspiring listeners to shine their brilliance and ensure success. Many people who shift out of limiting beliefs roar with laughter as they recognize the humor of the giant cosmic joke. The truth is funny. Shift happens. Feel instant relief. Stay tuned for more fun and release struggle and suffering. And now, here's your host, Colette Stefan.
This is Colette Marie Stefan. Welcome to The Truth is Funny on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay tuned for the next hour to experience the instant relief of tuning into your intuition. Shift happens every Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific time, live on the radio waves and in the archives at thetruthисfunny.com and at transformationtalkradio.com, Transformation Talk Radio FM. And the energetic shifts are still accessible through what I call HSN, the Higher Self Network, if you're listening later. So I've been using this show to give people an opportunity to call in if they have something bothering them, whether it be your health or your wealth or your happiness, let's put it that way. And on today's show, we are going to be talking about common triggers that people face that can kind of make your day go a little bit wonky. And we do love to hear from you. You can call in at 1-800-930-2819. My guest today is Phil Free. He first began using energy work to improve his life when he was affected by allergy symptoms in 1998 and has continued to apply energy techniques for everyday issues to facilitate improvement for himself, his family, his friends, clients, and feels strongly that others can benefit from it too. Phil was born and raised in San Francisco to French parents. He grew up bilingual. He received a journeyman certificate from the Musicians Institute in Los Angeles in 2001. Phil has lived up and down the coast of California before settling in Tucson, Arizona, and in 2009 with his family. And I first met Phil, it was back in 2008, and we've been shifting energy with each other ever since. It's so good to have you on the show, Phil. Are you there?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It seems that these days a lot of people are very triggered. And do you want to explain like what I mean by that when I say triggered?
Triggered is when we go from being in a fine state to all of a sudden not being in a fine state, and something happened that caused that. And a lot of times it can be very, very small, or it could be something very obvious. And so triggers range from anything. It could be a sight, a sound, a smell, any sensation really, or thought really.
And, a lot of these are not that obvious, right?
Right.
Like what happens with a lot of people is, it could be something as simple as seeing someone that reminds you of someone that you had a bad experience with, or, just the tone of someone's voice, or, as you said, a smell, or sirens are really common triggers. Another one that we also had this morning was technology. I've been having a lot of people talk to me like frustrated with the technology in the last while. I do work with some people who are working on their businesses, etc. And that seems to be something that's going on. And I thought, hey, let's correct that first. What Phil and I do is we're just kind of feeling the energy and feeling what is weakest right now. And for me right now, what's coming up, and it may just be my own experience, but it's technology. Is it working? So Phil, what are you, what do you feel is the issue around that?
Wow. You asked, Interesting question. Basically, there's a lot of issues. I mean, so when it comes to technology, it's like there's a lot of people involved. So, I mean, that, anybody's energy along the way could be weak. It could be the people who created it, the people who build the chips. They could be – when you look at a computer, it's assembled from many parts and everything like that, and it probably travels, like somebody probably builds a CPU somewhere and they send that somewhere else and they put that into the hard drive into the computer or whatever. And – so it's probably a process of many people involved. Many people create the chips in the first place in a different factory probably. So, I mean, all these people, ideally, you'd want everybody to be strong. I mean, even if they're not, things will kind of work. But obviously that's the result we have right now, is that things kind of work for a lot of us. And they don't work all the time. And I don't know that we can get it to 100%, I mean, it's just, there's so many things to factor in. At the same time, everybody who's involved, it'd be great if we were strong to it. And also understanding what we're programming into these computers, what's too much for them, things like that. A lot of people probably, try to overload them or things like that. And then people don't account for viruses and other things like that. So all that can be cleared, looked at, solved. You could solve the people, the machines, the parts, all kinds of things.
Well, that's a really good start right there. I mean, for a lot of people that are not so experienced with computers, and the technology keeps changing, that's what comes up week with me. A lot of times for myself, I'll just learn a program, I'll just figure it out, and then they change it. And so really the underlying issue here is change and people's fear of change. And that's, change happens every second of every minute of every day. And when we can remain neutral to what's going on around us to get ourselves in a state of, strength, through neutrality, we have more opportunity of solving the problem quicker. And I've also noticed that with computer and technology, really sensitive people tend to have more issues with computers than that people that their energy is maybe the vibration, the frequency. And so we can strengthen all that for everybody. I've just had a client I was working with yesterday, and she was just like beyond frustrated because she thought she had everything done, and then all of a sudden it just disappeared, And these kinds of things, we just want to strengthen everybody to, it's kind of like when you get out of bed and you stub your toe right away, then your whole day doesn't have to go bad from there. And a lot of times if one little thing goes wrong, there'll be accumulations of experiences that people have had, disappointments in the way things work out, or just, things that are going on in their life. And those accumulations of that emotion of disappointment is what's coming up really weak here, what I'm picking up. So just strengthening everybody to disappointment here, and being disappointed, and expectations. So do you want to talk a little bit about expectations, Phil?
Well, yeah, I mean, so we have expectations based on a lot of things, things we might see on TV, the commercial, and sure enough, in commercials, for example, everything goes right, things don't go wrong. So we get the imagery of, people using devices in commercials and other places, and it seems fine. So we expect that things should be fine for us. I mean, of course, they don't advertise the problems that come up. So, So
it reminds me of being a kid and watching commercials about toys.
Uh-huh.
And then they make them look, and there was sound effects, and there was music in the background, and smiling people,
Right.
And then you open the toy up, and it's not doing all that.
Right.
So yeah, that's an accumulative experience. Yeah.
Right. They always had the greatest backgrounds to those toy commercials. They have these mountainous scenes and all this stuff. And at home, you're just have your white walls or whatever. But anyways, yeah. So, being neutral to, to everything that, doesn't work, because we all discover it the hard way, essentially. Again, they don't advertise expect to have, an hour of problems a week with these, with this device, It's like, if they said that, it would hurt sales, I bet. So, yeah, so we basically want to be okay with the fact that, everything isn't as advertised. In fact, very little is as advertised. So part of that is us, just learning that about, the way commercials are these days and have been for a long time and probably forever. So just being neutral to it and being neutral to advertisers' techniques and everything like that. And then once we're aware, that, okay, what they're telling us isn't totally true, then we can, our good judgment come in and say, yeah, okay, I'll probably have problems with this device at some point or other. And we can decide as human beings whether we want to research ahead of time or if it's too late, when we already have the device, how to fix it, or we could pay people. Things like that to fix it, to tell us how it works, things like that. So
let's strengthen that for everybody. We have to take a quick break here right now, but over the break, Phil and I'll continue to work on this a little bit. Just for people, it's coming up, actually, communication in general. And so we'll strengthen that when we come back. You are listening to The Truth is Funny on Transformation Talk Radio with Colette Marie Stefan. And my guest today, Phil Free. When we return, we will share more ways to shift energy and to make some shift happen. Call in 1-800-930-2819.
Chris Stanis is a spiritual leader and healer and teaches a course on how you can transform your life through a meditation and healing system that will manifest your spirit's dreams. She manifested the Women of Wisdom Conference, the Women of Wisdom book, and this radio show. And she can show you how to change your life too. Are you ready? Visit the website and contact her at voicesofwomentoday.com. That's voicesofwomentoday.com.
Tune in to The Michael Shane Show, the third Tuesday of each month at 11 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com and connect with the ascended beings to raise your vibration and manifest the life you desire. Get ready to receive healing through the transphysical mediumship of Reverend Michael Shane and the ascended beings. Visit MichaelShane.com. That's MyChael, Shane.com, and call 425-971-6632 to schedule your full healing session now.
Brand consultant and coach Jen Morgan is here with Radically Distinct Radio to help maximize your brand's power to produce results. Whether you're a person with a dream and unsure where to start, or a CEO of a successful company wondering what's next, Jen Morgan and the RAD method empowers you to play to your strengths and focus your competitive edge so you can show up in the world as your most powerful brand. Go to jenmorgan.com or call 206-972-5366.
Are you anxious, worried, or insecure? Hi, I'm Dr. Friedman Schaub. I'm the author of The Fear and Anxiety Solution. Join me for my next breakthrough video seminar, which starts on September 10th. This program has helped thousands of people worldwide to overcome their struggles with anxiety, and I'm certain it can also help you. If you're ready to be free again and have a stronger foundation of inner peace and confidence, visit thefearandanxietysolution.com.
A word of caution: if you prefer the status quo and you are not interested in improving every aspect of your life, this book will trigger the shift out of you. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens is available now. Author Colette Stefan brings the powerful knowledge and life-changing energy and empowerment from the radio airwaves to the pages of her new book. To get your copy in paperback or ebook, visit thetruthisfunny.com today.
Beyond being this amazing neurologist, inventor, author, Dr. Dan Cohen has been called to look at technology and look at personal and spiritual development and merge these together. His technology uses the healing and psychospiritual effects of synchronized sounds, vibrations, electromagnetic fields, and how that interacts with us in our nervous system in what we're calling the Soltec chair.
The Soltec Lounge induces profound levels of relaxation that transition over time into deep meditative states. The synchronized sound, vibration, and magnetic field induce these states. The subject doesn't have to work at it.
To learn more, go to soltecwellbeing.com. That's SOLTEC Wellbeing.
1230 WBLQ.
back on The Truth is Funny with Colette Marie Stefan and my guest today, Phil Free. Phil, just share your contact information with everyone before we continue.
whatphil@hotmail.com. WHATPHIL@hotmail.com.
Cool. That's plain and simple. If you want to call in today, you're welcome to call in and we will shift energy around what's bothering you. Feel free to call in at 1-800-930-2819. Phil, today you and I are talking about triggers and how common they are for people. And, I just want to give you the floor again here to elaborate on it.
Sure. Well, thanks. Basically, yeah, triggers, usually, our behavior changes pretty suddenly when we are triggered. And we go from being in, feeling fine essentially to not feeling fine, like I said earlier. And for a lot of people, we could really identify the triggers, and that's what you and I do. And I think it's, in my experience and our experience, it's important to do it. And because you can change the response to a trigger. Instead of having a reaction, you can have a conscious response to the triggers. And often the other side of the coin is that, if you don't address the triggers, one trigger will often lead to another trigger to another. It could become an avalanche of triggers, really. And, so it gets overwhelming when we let ourselves be triggered over and over again. So it's important to sort of nip them in the bud when we have a chance, when we notice the first one or the first couple or whatever it might be. And it could be, like I said, anything from sensations, thoughts. It can be things that people say to us. So we're just going to get strong to all kinds of things that it is. It could be something, a news that came on television or that somebody told us that we don't like or whatever. And all of a sudden we feel ourselves get rattled or scared or something like that. So
and why I thought it would be good to just talk about that for a minute there about a lot of the news that we receive is traumatic and dramatic. And what does that because there's a lot of traumas that people commonly experience, like rejection and all these other things. And so what's coming up even today is there was a large earthquake in Italy. And so I would just like to strengthen that, for the people there. Right there, I could feel that coming up because natural disasters, it's totally out of our control, is what we're being told anyway. So we're just going to strengthen the issues around that. When people watch something like on TV or hear something in the news and it triggers maybe where they've had a similar experience or their ancestors have had similar experiences. And even in the case, as I said, with, the earthquake in Italy, there's a lot of people in Canada, generally a lot on the East Coast, around the Toronto and Ontario area that are have a lot of relatives there that's their heritage. And so a lot of times if something happens even in the country that our ancestors came from years and years and years ago, we still have kind of caught in that matrix of information, basically. And so some of these triggers are really subtle. Mm-hmm. And so, that's why it's so important. And just explaining, if you want to get into explaining how, what can we do with these triggers? Can we stop them altogether, or do we, can we at least improve the situation? What can we do?
Well, we can. So we can improve and we can stop them too. Part of it is just that I've noticed in my experience that we keep repeating or we keep attracting ourselves to that trigger until we sort of learn to solve it differently or until we die, whatever happens first. So,
hopefully the first one. Right.
Well, it's our choice, so that we can recognize that's important. A lot of people don't even recognize that, that they get triggered, and then they recognize it in retrospect a lot of times, but not in the moment. And then a lot of times they don't recognize that they can do something about it. So what can they do about it? Like I said, identifying is the first step. So if you're able to identify specifically what triggered you and isolate it in a sense, you see, you and I put our attention on this midline, on our midline, basically this vertical line that bisects our body from left to right. And that sort of stabilizes our energy whenever we feel rattled or a trigger or anything. So, the audience could do that as well. So when they feel the trigger or they sense it, they put their attention there and they ask themselves consciously, how I'm noticing that this word or this thought or this piece of news or whatever it might be is triggering me. It might bring up a string of thoughts, worries, emotions, or sensations. And same thing, as those come up, we can put our attention on our midline and keep doing that until there's no more negative sensations. After we've done that, you can ask yourself again the same question, or you can ask yourself you can bring up the trigger again and see if that same trigger has the same effect on you or not. And once you sort of stabilize your reaction, you can consciously decide, well, next time this comes up, this is how I'm going to respond, or I'm not going to respond at all, or however you decide you want to handle it. And that's how we can do it. And it sounds maybe simple or maybe complicated to others, but it's just a matter of applying it. And at first, until you've applied it, it's really, really hard to explain and have people really feel it. But if we walk through people, or for people just rewind, or listen to the archive of this and listen to what I just said a couple of times and just apply that process very meticulously, then they will get results and they will change what was what they were reacting to, and then they can either not react at all, or they can respond in a constructive way.
Yeah, and this is really important because we don't want to be reacting to everything around us. A lot of it comes up on an emotional level, and you can see this sometimes. You can have people in a room, and one person says something to another person, and the person just blows up. And the people around are saying, wow, what happened there? Like, wow, that was a huge reaction. And a lot of times what happens is if people feel like they've had traumatic experiences, they've had emotionally negative experiences, and all of a sudden those get triggered, something triggers that, all those accumulations of all the times they felt that emotion attached to that situation can rise up and cause these situations where we have what a lot of people would say is an overreaction. And, we were talking about this last week on the show with Karen Campbell-Benton about sensitivity. And so I'd like to kind of put that home again too, Phil, what about our sensitivity? How can we use our sensitivity to work for us?
Sure. I'll pick up from the example you brought up where, somebody just blows up all of a sudden. You would say in that example that person is being overly sensitive. At the same time, from our point of view, the energetic standpoint, we know that it has very little to do with sensitivity so much as it's a trigger for that person. And some people have a lot of triggers and some don't. And some people are aware of their triggers, so they spend a lifetime avoiding things that they don't like. It's like, oh, I know this topic upsets me, so I'll never talk about it. And that's, that's a step up from, constantly getting into it with people. Yeah. But at the same time, it's definitely not the best place to be. Ideally, we'd like to be in a place where if the topic comes up, it doesn't trigger us or it doesn't bother us. Whether we like the topic or not, we don't get triggered or, antsy, angry, or whatever it might be as soon as it comes up. So, that's what we want to know is as far as sensitivities. Yes, there are sensitivities, but it's different than triggers, So we can be sensitive and not be triggered that much, or you can be triggered a lot and not be that aware of your sensitivity to it or what's triggering you. And at the same time, there could be a connection as well between sensitivity and triggers. So obviously, basically we want to be neutral to all of it. And as far as sensitive people in general, they're more likely to sense, yes, maybe their own triggers, maybe other people's triggers. And so again, it's just going to be, essentially you want to be neutral. It starts by identifying the triggers, and then once you're able to identify them, for a lot of people, they don't know what to do beyond that. But that's what we're here helping and explaining that we can do, is that we can neutralize it, we can get ourselves stable and choose a conscious response to these things, or a non-response if that's what's beneficial.
That's really well said, because a lot of times what happens is people get caught up in the old story of their life, and they get so stuck in that they are unable to sort of pull themselves out of the emotions and the triggers of that to improve their life and move forward. So we're going to be taking a short break here again. And when we come back, we can talk a little bit about that too, about how to basically improve everyday life by, allowing yourself to not react. I am Colette Marie Stefan, and you are listening to The Truth is Funny on Transformation Talk Radio, and you can connect with me at thetruthисfunny.com and on social media at Facebook and Twitter at The Truth is Funny with Colette. And if you would like to find more information about Energetic Upgrade online program with Mark Kettenbach from Germany, you can go to energeticupgrade.com. And if you're interested in the energy correcting cards and dragon paintings, you can go to Tails, Tails, from the Vector. Call in if you want an opportunity to shift your life into better. 1-800-930-2819. We'll be right back to make some shift happen.
Tune in to The Michael Shane Show, the third Tuesday of each month at 11 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com and connect with the ascended beings to raise your vibration and manifest the life you desire. Get ready to receive healing through the transphysical mediumship of Reverend Michael Shane and the ascended beings. Visit MichaelShane.com. That's MyChael, Shane.com, and call 425-971-6632 to schedule your full healing session now.
Brand consultant and coach Jen Morgan is here with Radically Distinct Radio to help maximize your brand's power to produce results. Whether you're a person with a dream and unsure where to start, or a CEO of a successful company wondering what's next, Jen Morgan and the RAD method empowers you to play to your strengths and focus your competitive edge so you can show up in the world as your most powerful brand. Go to jenmorgan.com or call 206-972-5366.
Are you anxious, worried, or insecure? Hi, I'm Dr. Friedman Schaub. I'm the author of The Fear and Anxiety Solution. Join me for my next breakthrough video seminar, which starts on September 10th. This program has helped thousands of people worldwide to overcome their struggles with anxiety, and I'm certain it can also help you. If you're ready to be free again and have a stronger foundation of inner peace and confidence, visit thefearandanxietysolution.com.
Get ready to rid yourself of all that is weighing you down and holding you back from living the life you want for yourself. Coming Clean, The Art of Transparency with Catherine Moss is a hit show for women in recovery who are ready to live life on purpose. Tune in and let Catherine help you live your truth one day at a time. Live each Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Get into it for 2016. Do you want more prosperity, clarity, energy, and balance in your life? Join Lynn Brown now through March for one of her amazing workshops, each focusing on a key part of living your best life. For more information and to register for one of these amazing workshops, visit lynnbrownevent.com. That's lynnbrownevent.com. And get into it this 2016 with Lynn Brown.
Tune in to The Truth is Funny with Colette Stefan each Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This hit show will have you thinking outside the box and riding the wave of infinite potential. Join Colette on the Higher Self Network, inspiring listeners to shine their brilliance and ensure success while roaring with laughter as they recognize the humor of the giant cosmic joke. Visit thetruthисfunny.com.
It's in the way that you use it. It comes and goes.
I am Colette Marie Stefan. You are listening to The Truth is Funny, and I have Phil Free here with me today. You can call in at 1-800-930-2819. Phil and I are talking about common triggers in everyday life and how we can not so much avoid the triggers, but move forward in a state of calm. And so we were talking over the break here about, day-to-day living. So I'm just going to, explain how these triggers happen. And you and I decided let's start at the beginning of the day.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, basically, it'd be great, for all of us to identify where we start to get triggered, where we first get triggered on any given day. So for a lot of us, it's just little aspects of our routine that might, that we may get initially triggered by. So everything from, I'll just go through a very quick list here. Everything from, waking up could be a trigger to some people, getting out of bed, going to the bathroom, brushing teeth, getting dressed, getting other people ready, getting kids ready for school, getting ready for work. All right. So at any point, if any of this stuff is stressful for you, or if you notice, or again, you can put your attention on your midline when you feel that initial stress come up. And then basically, it'll probably bring up a series of emotions and thoughts, when you do that. And then you can, again, put your attention on your midline. And basically then at this point, once you've stabilized, you've done that enough times that you feel calmer, then you can ask yourself, well, how do I want this experience to go? How do I want my energy to be? Do I want to be stressed out every morning when I'm, waking up or getting the kids ready or going to work myself or whatever it might be? And, so if you don't, then you can create a different reality, so do you want to wake up an extra, hour earlier or half an hour earlier to, just be more awake, have more time to prepare, things like that. I mean, so just making a conscious decision as opposed to I'm stuck in this trap, I'm in a loop, I'm in a routine, there's nothing I can do about it. Sure, there are things you can do about it. You have to be flexible and open in your mind to some degree, to possibilities. Otherwise, you'll be stuck. But once you open yourself up to possibilities and you're willing to look at your triggers, then certainly from one day to the next, we can have a very different reality. So anybody who's listening now and chooses to apply what I'm talking about now can have a very different morning tomorrow morning than they've had for the last how many years, So that's up to them. So again, it's noticing what gets us started. What's the first trigger of the day? Then once we get that one, we can go to the second, third, and really we can start to clear all the routine stuff and then all the non-routine stuff too about our days, about our lives that trigger us. And it takes a while to systematically go through our entire lives, but you got to start somewhere. So it's just start at the beginning. Start where did you first get triggered in the day, or what first triggers you, when you think about the next day. So,
and this is also sometimes when there's a lack of routine and or there's a change from the normal regular schedule, such as if someone was in a position where maybe you have a dentist appointment or things like that, something out of the normal. And one of the things that a lot of people maybe don't realize a lot is at this time of year, a lot of people do have memories about going back to school. Right. And so even if you're 80 years old and you have memories about going back to school and you see all the commercials about back to school and all the kids going back to school and all this energy. So we want to, what I want to point out is that the triggers are not necessarily what you would think they are.
Right.
And they can be very subtle. And so, because people were operating on so many different existences, times and space. We're operating on, so many levels. Human beings are very complicated. And when we tune into, our midline, as we were saying, what happens is that gives us some strength in our body, and it gives us it pulls our energy back in. And a lot of people these days are feeling very scattered because they're looking outside themselves for answers to questions that really their inner guidance would give them the strongest answer to. And, just because one person gets triggered by one thing in a family does not mean that someone, someone else in the family would have the same trigger. And that's just because we're all so unique. I do have someone that's had requested, her husband ended up in the hospital and ends up in the hospital with seizures back and forth quite often. And a lot of people notice this when you walk into a hospital. the energy can really be challenging. Do you want to explain a little bit about that and how you can, if someone's in like a stressful experience like that, where it's, not the normal life experience, and there's someone sick, or there's someone that's, that they have to look after, and, going into an environment like that, what can we do?
Sure. Well, for one, a lot of people do get triggered because, it's not something that most of us are very prepared for in life. It's not like in school they teach you how to handle traumatic situations and, near-death situations and things like that, and death itself. So, for a lot of us, it does trigger us. So, we acknowledge that. And then, again, we can get very specific with ourselves about what triggers us. For a lot of us, it's the fear of death. So, whether it's for ourselves or for people we're caring for. So that's the first thing we want to get neutral to, is so we can put our attention on our midlines. Anybody who's afraid of what I just said, or who has triggers that come up with with thinking about death and dealing with death. That's a big one for a lot of people. And then a lot of times what comes up also is the finances associated with it. Not everybody necessarily has insurance in the United States, and a lot of people, and even those who do, still pay out of pocket a decent amount. And so for a lot of people, there's a financial stress that goes with hospitals and everything. Hospitals are considered expensive by most people's standards. So, people want to be neutral to that too. So again, do we really want to go to the hospital when we don't have to? So that's a good question to ask ourselves. Definitely don't just use the hospital as like your 24-hour hotline or whatever that you call anytime. It's because those bills will get really, really expensive in a sense. So that goes back to what you said about the inner guidance, the inner knowledge, and the inner answers, and it's like if we can get more answers from inside, we won't have to depend on these things as much, for one, or at all maybe. So again, when it comes to the hospital, it's definitely out of our routine in many ways. So just people want to be also strong to what's different and change, like you mentioned earlier. A lot of people are afraid of change, and when things go different, or it throws them off, they're not prepared for change. They're not expecting the unexpected. They're not prepared for the unexpected. So that's part of it too. So we're going to strengthen all that.
The relationships also, because a lot of times, what comes up is, when I'm testing this right now, white coats, the authority, and, not understanding. Once again, it's coming up technology, like the medical procedures, etc. The lab tech. Like a lot of times people can have a weakness when you walk into a hospital. You want to remember that it's not just you. It's the other patients in the hospital. It's the patients that were in the hospital beforehand, the people that had a good result or a bad result. Many people die in hospitals, and many people are born in hospitals. So a lot of times, for myself, where I had my children at the same hospital, and those were very happy memories, and having a baby and starting life. But both my parents also died at that same hospital, and it wasn't necessarily, the same pleasant experience. And so we want to strengthen that for everybody, any mixed emotions here around that. And so when people have mixed emotions, they don't know whether to be happy or sad, or, whether how to react to all this. So we want to remind people that all of these things, like the doctors, the receptionists, the nurses, the lab techs, all of this, you can notice sometimes maybe one of them looks like a teacher that you didn't like back in grade 1 or something. And that's the doctor you end up with when you go to the hospital. So we want to strengthen these things that people could very easily kind of recognize, oh, that's all it is, and then get themselves into, like you said, this place going to the midline and being strong about it and being able to handle it in a more calm way. And so what else are you picking up, Phil, around this?
Well, so like you said, it could be so many subtle things that come up. It could be like the way somebody looks, or the colors of something, or reminding, the memories. So when it's just really important for people, a lot of people who may not, who may not understand what we're saying. It's really about being aware of ourself, of our own energy, of when we are centered and when we're not centered. And when we're triggered, taking responsibility, not blaming others for triggering us, but taking responsibility so that even if others wanted to trigger us, they couldn't, because, we know how to handle that situation. So,
and that's a huge issue right there that you're bringing up, because a lot of people, when you're in a position like that, do you really trust your doctor? Do you really trust that they're, that things are going the right way? And when people have issues about trusting others, a lot of times those trust issues begin within themselves. When we're aware that we can handle ourselves and we can handle our reactions to things, then we are in a much stronger position to handle whatever life kind of sends our way. And that's kind of what we mean by going to the midline and getting really strong in that way. This is Colette Marie Stefan with The Truth is Funny. Phil Free and I are talking about triggers. We will be right back after the short break, and we will shift some more energy around this.
Do you want to achieve your goals? Do you want to strengthen relationships with others? Do you want to improve your financial status? Colette Marie Stefan is partnering with Mark Kettenbach to bring you an energetic upgrade online experience. Unfold and develop your full potential. Visit energeticupgrade.com today for more information. That's energeticupgrade.com. Get ready to rid yourself of all that is weighing you down and holding you back from living the life you want for yourself. Coming Clean, The Art of Transparency with Catherine Moss is a hit show for women in recovery who are ready to live life on purpose. Tune in and let Catherine help you live your truth one day at a time. Live each Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Get into it for 2016. Do you want more prosperity, clarity, energy, and balance in your life? Join Lynn Brown now through March for one of her amazing workshops, each focusing on a key part of living your best life. For more information and to register for one of these amazing workshops, visit lynnbrownevent.com. That's lynnbrownevent.com. And get into it this 2016 with Lynn Brown.
Tune in to The Truth is Funny with Colette Stefan each Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This hit show will have you thinking outside the box and riding the wave of infinite potential. Join Colette on the Higher Self Network, inspiring listeners to shine their brilliance and ensure success while roaring with laughter as they recognize the humor of the giant cosmic joke. Visit thetruthIsfunny.com.
Transformation Talk Radio is dedicated to the education and awareness of Lyme disease.
Welcome to Lyme Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat Basile, the host of the Dr. Pat Show, and I am so thrilled that we've created this venue for all of you out there.
Dr. Pat Basile will be bringing the most innovative, groundbreaking information, research, treatment innovations, and stories from those it affects every day.
What we have heard is that you want to ensure for us that we keep positive, holistic, uplifting, transformative talk radio on the air. We're excited to bring you the contemporary conversations about Lyme disease.
We promise not to let the light fade on Lyme.
So fasten your seatbelts. We've got lots more to share with you in the weeks to come.
Tune into Lyme Talk Radio with Dr. Pat and help keep our mission strong on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
1230 WPLQ.
This is Colette Marie Stefan. You're listening to The Truth is Funny on Transformation Talk Radio. My guest today is Phil Free. We're talking about common triggers and how to shift yourself in your daily routine, especially, or your lack of your daily routine, as the case may be, to be able to move forward in a real strong way in your life, so that you're not reacting to the dramas and the chaos, from the people around you, or from unexpected things that happen in life. So, Phil, I'm just going to give you the floor again to elaborate some more. You're doing a great job here.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. So, yeah, I mean, it's for a lot of people, I noticed that, certainly when I was younger and everything, it was just something I wouldn't really look at, triggers, it's just like, I felt the way I did. And, if I think of myself as a young I don't know, even just as a kid or a young teenager or whatever, and thinking, I probably wouldn't have been that aware of what triggered me, and then when something did trigger me, I probably would have justified it like, oh, well, like try to make the whole world feel like, should revolve around my point of view or should fit my point of view, and everything that doesn't, I'm going to react negatively to. Everything I don't like, essentially, I'm going to, and I recognize as I've grown up, that's not a great place to be, and it's no sign of self-mastery in any way, shape, or form.
That's a nice way of saying it.
Well, it is, it is, and unfortunately for myself and, and for so many people, I mean, obviously I grew out of it, some haven't yet. And we still get in this place where we just want to defend everything we believe in, and we want to defend everything that, the way we see the world, and we want to attack everybody who doesn't feel the same way as we do. And, that's not a very powerful place to be. We just have a bickering world. That's how we, with that attitude, that's why we have so many people fighting and pitted up against each other, whether it's, gender or race or religion or whatever it is. We pit up people against each other for all kinds of stupid reasons, really. And it's time to get past that, instead of trying to like make the world fit the way we see it and assume that, whatever we believe is right. What if we cleared our triggers? What if, it triggers me to see somebody from a different religion or somebody from a different race, or the opposite sex triggers me. Instead of, becoming a sexist or a racist or whatever else, or a warmonger or whatever else, it's like we can change our triggers and not be triggered by those things anymore. Take more control, self-control of the situation. And then we'll be much more open to whatever anyone does, and whatever religion, race, gender, whatever they are. It won't matter. It will be okay with it. We'll be accepting of it because it won't trigger our insecurities. And if it does, we'll know how to handle our insecurities, and we'll solve them for ourselves so that we're not triggered in the future when it comes up again. So really, you can solve sexism. You can solve racism. You can solve the desire for, war or religious persecution. You can really solve these things with this energy work. And you just have to notice what triggers you about these things. What don't you like about that religion or about that person or about that whatever? And you get to the bottom of it. You take responsibility for your own feelings. You solve it. You change your feelings so that you're not reactive anymore to this thing. And the world is a different place. That's how it works.
And that's what I call in my energy correcting cards. I have one of my cards called P-U-R-R-ception. And that card is your ability to see the brighter side of life, to have an attitude that is geared in that way. And so a lot of times what happens is people get caught up in their story of something bad maybe happened to them, or something bad happened to their parents, or the parents had a financial disaster, or there was war or whatever. And so, like, as you said, a lot of times these problems are passed down from one generation to the other. And when you consider that our subconscious mind is formed by the time we're 7 years of age, we are often operating on really old energy of, that's been passed down from one generation to the other. And, if you were to go back and talk to your great grandfather, and he had a problem with those things back then, the world is a very, very different place from even how it was, like 25 years ago when the internet first really started being used. And so, people recognizing that we are in the age of information, and that we can strengthen ourselves to this information. So a lot of people go weak at the thought of having to be responsible. And really, responsibility is just your ability to be able to respond to whatever happens in your life. If you look at responsibility from that angle, then it's like, yes, we all want to be able to respond to whatever is happening around us in the most calm way possible. And this is also for, upcoming generations of our children here and the effect it has on them. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Phil?
Certainly. So, touching on even what I was talking about earlier, for example, like a religion, for example, is often passed on from parents, to their siblings and to their offspring and so on and so forth. So it's like, like I said, it's fine, that people want to believe what they want to believe to the point that they're not, imposing it or they're not weakening others with it or whatever. Right. And, so, it's just, when it comes to that kind of thing, it's just like, I was also that way. And, I was raised with a religion. And as I grew older and became an adult, I, chose not to call myself that religion or, associate with any particular religion anyway, or label myself part of any religion in particular. So, that was my choice and, other people will choose what they choose. And either way, it's just like that, we do have our choices and, that we don't have to be just because our ancestors thought this way that we have to think this way. It's not like we're all in little teams here and like, it's like, it's the best team wins or something like that, it's like, so, like I said, if we can notice, even if we have a religion, if we notice what bothers us about other religions or other things like that, and we get ourselves neutral to it, then, we can continue to believe what we believe, but not be bothered by others' beliefs. So that's already a much better place to be than, somebody who's just like, okay, what I believe is the only truth and anybody who doesn't believe what I believe, they're wrong. And, I'm either going to avoid them or if I do run into them, I'm going to get all confrontational with them. That's not the greatest place to live or be or exist. So
I'd say so. And that's, but that does tend to lead to those types of behaviors tend to lead to a much less fun life for sure. We can choose to be bothered by the things around us, or we can choose not to be bothered by the things around us. And so it's just strengthening that. We have about a couple minutes left. Do you have any last words you'd like to say about this for a minute or so here?
Sure. I'll say that, it's that, we have so much media, so much things in our world, in our, realm that tell us that we don't have control. Constantly there's stimulation that tells us to react to this or that. There's constant news. There's, by the second news, by the second sports updates and everything else. It's important that we, that through all this fast information, everything that's coming at us, that we're aware of our own energy and then we're aware of what we're reacting to. And we're aware of how much control we have over ourselves and how powerful we are as energetic beings, and that we are not victims. We are not these little wimpy things that, just have to do what we're told. It's not, if those who want to believe that, they're going to live that reality. I'm here to tell those who don't want, who think other, who want something different, who want a stronger reality, a more conscious reality, and a more peaceful world, that we can create that. And it's just really a matter of solving all these things that trigger us and becoming more open, becoming more tolerant, and choosing much more consciously how we're going to live and respond to things as opposed to react.
I love that, Phil. Thank you so much for being on the show today. It was awesome to have you explain this because you're very good at it, and also to have these beautiful energetic shifts that people can feel as they're listening now or, as we said, in the archives later. This is Colette Marie Stefan, and you've been listening to The Truth is Funny. I just wanted to say that in the coming weeks I will be interviewing some of my fellow authors from Life Sparks, which is short stories of inspiration. I'm really looking forward to that and to the interview with Sharan Serdar next Wednesday. Bye for now. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to The Truth is Funny with Colette Stefan. Tune in to The Truth is Funny with Colette Stefan each Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Join Colette on the Higher Self Network as she provides energetic shifts and consistent results in every area of life, inspiring listeners to shine their brilliance and ensure success while roaring with laughter as they recognize the humor of the giant cosmic joke. The Truth is Funny. Visit thetruthisfunny.com for more information. That's thetruthisfunny.com.